righty, we're good. Have at it.
All right. Well, I'm grateful to be able to be with you guys tonight. There's times when somebody asks you to share your story, you don't feel like it's necessarily a great story or anything to share with anybody, but at the same time, I think that's why we're all in the program together, because there is strength from that, and I know that. My history with food has been one that has not been a healthy relationship. My mom relays the story as I was on the way, as she was coming home from the hospital with me, that she stopped and decided I needed baby food as a newborn baby, because it was just, I was too big of a child not to be able to go ahead and start eating some good stuff at that point in time. I don't blame her for where I have let myself get in with my unhealthy relationship with food. I'm sure that wasn't a good start, but a lot of it has been brought on by myself as well. Over the course of my life, I was always a larger person, nothing very athletic, participated in a lot of sports in school, in high school. Everything was going great. Got out of high school, went into college, was married relatively young, worked full-time, went to school full-time. My relationship with food, I think, began even going a lot worse situation there as well. Become very, very attached to my food with emotions, I think, more than anything else. Over the course of the several years, just sort of maintained, still was somewhat active, but as I got into a career, become more of a behind the desk type of guy, activity level continued to drop. The stress eating continued to increase. The pressure and everything of life, the way it bounces you around at times was difficult and hard. Had a healthy relationship with my marriage and kids for the most part during all of that, but along the way, I also felt like the relationship with my family wasn't what I wanted it to be, and so I've worked on trying to get things back where it should be, in a better place for that as well. Recognizing my weight as a big factor for me. I don't place all of my relationship with food necessarily on what the scales say. I just know that if I'm turning to food for emotional support, or to be my best friend, or to be my confidant, or whatever it was that was driving me to the food, that's not where I need to be or where I want to be. As a direct correlation, my weight was affected because of that. Decided to make changes throughout my life. I've made several attempts, went up and down, yo-yoed all over the place. Have tried a lot of different things, some very regimented plans of trying to go down that road. Did some outpatient treatment, those types of things as well. Had some pretty good success with some of the areas. At one point, I'd lost a couple of 100 pounds and was really enjoying it, released a lot of weight, was really enjoying life, had regained a lot of activity, which I absolutely loved. Hearing comments from people about how great I looked and all of those things just fed right into the things that I need. I'm a huge validation person, which is not a healthy thing either. But that's sort of where I was thriving from, hearing those comments. So I continued to work hard on trying to stay active, watching what I ate. During the duration of that, my business was having some hiccups, and decided I was going to change careers, go a complete 180-degree turn, get into a brand new business, something I knew nothing about, but was willing to take a chance, little entrepreneur spirit in me. So I decided I was going to sell my existing business, start a brand new business, and go down that road. So I went from being in a really good place with my health and stress level and everything to where I felt pretty comfortable, to here I'm jumping off the deep end of the pool again, and I don't know how to swim. So a lot of those unhealthy relationships, the emotional eating, the stress, all of those things just come back with full vengeance. Access to food and things that were my alcoholic foods was readily available. convenience stores and myself do not go well together. I've discovered that. I know that. I know that that's a weakness, and I've got to stay away from those. The more regimented I am, you have to stop to get fuel, and that's okay. But just trying not to go inside those doors, to go anywhere close to anything else that's on the shelves in a store, was something that I had to decide was a route that I needed to go. And so I stayed away from those types of things and those scenarios as much as I could. But with a new business, it seemed to just creep in more and more, and my guard got down. In the big book, there's a section in there toward the very front, around page 40, 41, I think it is, it talks about, I think it was Fred that went into, was at a hotel, went into the hotel thinking, maybe just a cocktail with his dinner would be okay, it wouldn't be a big deal. That's sort of the way I felt. Maybe just to calm my nerves, maybe just this thing off the shelf would be a good thing, thinking that would just sort of help me to calm down with my emotions all over the place. I quickly discovered that wasn't a healthy thing, because just as he related, that one turns into two and two turns into three, and quickly things get out of hand and out of control. During all of this time, I really was not associated or affiliated with OA. I didn't really know that much about it. So I just basically let myself go, went on a big 2.5-year binge, basically, of just doing whatever I thought was going to keep me floating and doing the best I could in my business and with life in general, the pressures that were there. Well, I got to the point in my business to where I wasn't necessarily happy. My wife wasn't necessarily happy with me either. But the biggest thing was when I would go in and talk to clients, I would go into homes to talk to them. When I would do that, it got to where it was a very uncomfortable physical situation for me. I would start having all kinds of anxiety problems, because would the chair I was sitting in, would it hold me? Would it support me? How would I get up? How would I be able to show all of these vulnerable things that I have? How could these people trust me to help them in their situation when I can't even take care of myself? And so all of this just continued to build. And I decided, I've been my own entrepreneur for the 25 years. And I decided, my marriage is not going to go the direction it needs to if I don't make some changes. My life is not going to go the way it needs to go if I don't make some changes. And more than likely, my health is going to really start giving me some major problems, and I'm going to have some health concerns that are going to come up. And I don't want to go down that road, because I know as I continue to get older, it's going to get worse instead of better in that regard. So I decided I needed to make some changes. So I sold that business, decided that I just needed to get out of that was not a healthy place for me to be. It had got to a point where I felt like it was a smart move anyway to do that. In the course of selling that business, we were very, very fortunate. My wife was finishing school, and I was able to stay home. We had one child still at home, and I was able to take care of that daughter, take care of her needs. But my main focus for about 1.5 years was to truly just take care of me, to try to get myself in the place that I needed to be. And that's when I started going to my OA meetings, finding an OA meeting, started going to an OA meeting, learning a little about that. I started getting some counseling as well for me. I started started going to the gym to try to get some physical activity. I had got to a point where I wasn't able to do anything physical outside or walking a whole lot because of really bad knees, but I could go to a pool and I could do some water aerobics and those types of things. Very, very minimal, very low impact, but it was something at least. So I started working on those areas. But the whole time I really felt like the main thing that I needed to work on was my relationship with food. And the more I learned about OA, the more I felt like that was the direction that was going to help me, that would benefit me and where I was going. And so it's really a great blessing that it came when it did. The things that I do now as part of my program, I attend my meeting. I have a home meeting here in Knoxville that I go to weekly. It's a Saturday meeting that I go to and attend. It's a great opportunity to have some face-to-face contact, warm bodies that I can talk to that we are able to share. That helps build me up. Going to the big book and the resources that are there, the stories that are there. Very seldom is there ever a time that I don't read through, that I don't see a story or even in the other readings that we do in our meetings, that I don't feel like there's some stories that I can relate to personally, just as I shared the one starting with a single drink for the alcoholic. For me, it was the single bite of a food. All of those types of things, it's very much paralleled for me. I've always considered myself a religious person, but at the same time, I don't know that I ever really wanted to lose control. I always felt like I could take care of my problem on my own, that I could do this, that I have it under control, I can take care of it, and will be able to be strong enough to do it. I quickly have discovered that that's not the case, that I had to, as we read through the steps or the tradition or the steps, step 2, recognizing, coming to understand the higher power, and having faith in that higher power to be able to help us through those situations. I quickly found that I needed to take my faith to another level. Even though I claimed to be a faithful person, I still wouldn't let go of that. And I found as I worked through the program that has been what has helped me more than anything else, is being able to continually, I say my prayers in the morning and at night to help me get through. I don't necessarily have a specific regimented prayer that I have. I will say that the Serenity Prayer is one that I recite quite often. If I get up in the day and I feel like things are overwhelming, that prayer helps bring me back into where I need to be. It helps sort of center me and get me back in the right frame of mind. I often, in my readings, again, going through several of the literature that's there, I can't say that I identify with a single specific thing that is my absolute most favorite go-to. I really think for me it's almost more of a story type of a situation. As long as I hear a story that I can relate to, it works for me. And in my situation, there's not many stories that talk about the addictive behaviors of alcohol that don't parallel with the addictive behaviors of food. When I was doing some time in my outpatient, I won't say doing time, it sounds a little horrific that way, but when I was going through some outpatient treatment, the thing that was the most amazing to me, I was the only guy in an all-girl program. It wasn't because it's not very popular to be a guy that's saying, hey, I've got eating issues, but I recognized that I had those issues. But what amazed me is that their issues with food and the relationship with food was polar opposite of mine. I was on the excessive side and theirs were on the minimalistic side of their relationship with food. But yet it parallels so much together. The reasons behind it, the way we feel, the relationships that we have with food. I feel like being able to get a better grip of my emotional, where I am emotionally, seems to help me in my health and in the relationships that I have that benefit me going forward. I'm 9 months in an abstinent lifestyle that is going really well, and I'm thankful for that. But I also recognize it only takes one trip into that restaurant, one trip into that convenience store, one trip into any of these places just to get the slightest little taste of that alcohol back in the system to start all of these things, those alcoholic foods for me. My relationships with my family are much better than they were. My physical mobility is much better than where it was. I'm able to do things that I haven't been able to do in many years. And the thoughts of going back, they petrify me. But I recognize that I have to keep working the program to be able to keep myself where I need to be. I do weigh myself some, but I'm not obsessed with the scales because I know that that's an unhealthy relationship for me. I don't want that to be what dictates what I am, where I'm at. My relationship is more about am I working on trying to be able to stay under control?
5 minutes.
Thank you. And to keep the food to where it's healthy portions. I found that for me and my food plan, trying to weigh my food and measure my food is healthy. That's a good place for me to be. I have found that when I get sloppy and I don't log my food, that I tend to start deviating a little and it gets me off my path a little. And so I have to sort of do some little checks and balances there and be able to bring myself back in where I need to be. I feel like that the tools that are there will work, but we truly have to take action on them. We have to have the desire to take those and understand the power that's there. All of the stories, all of the things that we have in front of us that can truly help us are there, but it's only good if you reach out and you do it. And I think that's the part that I feel good about, that I understand that I see where the success can come from. And I have to keep fighting hard to make sure that I don't let it get in my head that I have this beat, that I've done all these wonderful things, that I'm just on top of it now, because that's not truly where I'm at. I know that's not the case. I have a long way to go. My relationship with food still needs to be refined. There's still sometimes where there's thoughts that go through that are not healthy, and I have to keep working against those. And that's where the serenity prayer comes into play for me again. That's where being able to pick up the big book and read some, that's where that comes into play for me. That's where being able to go to a meeting and getting some support, that's where it comes into play for me. Being able to share with you tonight is helpful for me. I normally go to a meeting a week. That's all I really have been able to get in, but this gives me an opportunity to have a second meeting this week. And I'm grateful for that because I need that. I need that accountability. I need that support. So I'm grateful for where I'm at. I'm grateful for where I've been as well. I'm a firm believer that we go through the trials and all of the things, the obstacles that we have in our life, they serve a purpose. It helps me go forward, helps me help other people. And so I hope to be a resource to others. I hope to be able to assist. I'm currently working with a sponsor. I have not sponsored anyone to date. I haven't felt like I've quite been there yet, but I feel like I'm getting really close to being able to open up and start sponsoring. That's something that is in my near future, hopefully. Recently, my sponsor has had some health things and some other issues that have popped up that he's having to back away, so I'm going to be changing sponsors, and that's going to be a little bit of a hiccup, but I know it will be okay. I have faith in and know that I'll be taken care of as long as I continue to do the work. I'm grateful for this chance that I've had to share with you tonight, and I'm really thankful for Readers Anonymous and the strength that it's provided me. So thank you all so much for letting me share with you tonight. I've enjoyed being able to share my story with you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks. Let's stop the recording.